The village woke every morning to the same rhythm. Roosters crowed. Women swept dust from their doorways. Children laughed as they ran barefoot through the narrow paths. Life moved forward, steady and loud. But for Lila, the loudest thing was silence. She lived in a modest home at the edge of the village, where modern houses slowly gave way to older ones built from clay and tin. The world around her balanced between tradition and change, but one belief never shifted. A woman's worth was measured by the children she bore. Lila was nearly 30. Her face was soft, her eyes gentle, but there was strength in the way she stood and carried herself. She greeted others with respect, helped neighbors when they were sick, and worked hard every day. Still, when people looked at her, they did not see her kindness. They saw her empty arms. At the market, women spoke to her with polite smiles that did not reach their eyes. "At least you sleep well at night," they would say. "Enjoy your freedom while it lasts." Their words were light, but the meaning was sharp. At family gatherings, the pressure grew heavier. Her mother-in-law sighed loudly whenever babies cried nearby. Aunties spoke about fertility herbs and prayers, always careful to sound helpful while quietly blaming her. Lila learned to nod, to smile, to swallow her pain whole. She never argued. She never shouted. She carried her sorrow with grace even when it crushed her chest. At night, when the village quieted and lamps flickered low, Lila allowed herself to feel. She sat alone on her mat, holding a small notebook she kept hidden beneath her clothes. Inside it were pages filled with thoughts she never shared, dreams of motherhood, questions she was afraid to ask, prayers she whispered again and again. She wrote about holding a child close, about hearing a small voice call her name, about love so deep it would make the past pain disappear. Some nights, tears soaked the pages before she could stop them. During the day, she often walked past the river where children played. She told herself she was only passing through, but her steps always slowed. She watched them run, fall, laugh, and rise again. She noticed the way mothers scolded them with tired voices and loving eyes. A small ache settled in her chest every time. Once a little boy tripped and scraped his knee. Without thinking, Lila rushed forward and cleaned the wound with water and cloth. The child smiled at her through tears. His mother thanked her, then gently pulled him away. The moment passed, but the emptiness remained. Some nights, when the moon was full, Lila felt something strange. A warmth that came without warning. A soft hum in her chest, like a song she almost remembered. She would pause, hand resting over her stomach, heart beating faster for no clear reason. Shadows moved differently around her. Light lingered longer. Wind brushed her skin even when the air was still. When she mentioned these things, people laughed. "You think too much," they said. "Loneliness makes the mind weak." So Lila kept quiet. But deep inside, beneath years of disappointment and quiet endurance, hope still breathed. Small, fragile, but alive. She did not know why she felt different lately. She only knew that the silence around her no longer felt empty. It felt like waiting. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lila stood outside her home and watched the sky change colors. Orange turned to purple. Purple faded into deep blue. She felt the warmth again, stronger this time. Her breath caught. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. She pressed her hand to her stomach, eyes wide, heart racing. The feeling passed as quickly as it came, leaving behind a strange calm. Lila did not understand it, but something in her knew. This silence was not punishment. It was preparation. As night settled and stars filled the sky, Lila whispered a quiet prayer. Not for answers. Not for proof. Just for strength. Because whatever was coming, whatever destiny stirred beneath her quiet life, she felt it would change everything. And the village that once mocked her silence would soon learn that silence can hide miracles. The first strange thing happened in the middle of the night. Lila woke suddenly, her heart pounding as if someone had called her name. The room was quiet, yet the air felt thick, heavy with something unseen. She sat up slowly, pulling the thin cloth tighter around her shoulders. That was when she noticed the light. It was not the moon. A soft glow hovered near the corner of the room, warm and pale, like early morning sunlight trapped indoors. It did not hurt her eyes. It did not flicker. It simply was. Lila held her breath. The light faded as gently as it had appeared, leaving the room dark once more. Her heart continued to race long after it vanished. She told herself it was a dream. Fatigue. A trick of the mind. Yet sleep did not return easily that night. From that moment on, the signs began to follow her. During the day, she felt sudden waves of warmth wrap around her body, even under the harsh sun. At night, the wind whispered through her window though the trees outside stood still. Sometimes, when she cooked alone, The fire crackled in patterns that felt almost like words. She said nothing. The village was already quick to judge. If they noticed her pausing too often, staring into nothing, they would only laugh harder. So Lila kept her head down and her thoughts locked away. But inside her, something had changed. Her dreams grew vivid and strange. She dreamed of standing in open fields, her feet planted firmly on the earth while the sky stretched wide above her. In these dreams, light flowed through her body like water. She felt strong. Oh, never alone. In one dream, she placed her hand on her stomach and felt a gentle pulse, slow and steady, like a second heartbeat answering her own. She woke with tears on her face and fear twisting in her chest. Hope was dangerous. Hope had hurt her before. Still, she could not ignore the pull guiding her steps toward Nanny's home one quiet afternoon. The old woman lived slightly apart from the village, in a house filled with herbs, carvings, and silence that felt alive. Nanny looked at Lila for a long moment before speaking. Her eyes were sharp, deep, and calm. "You carry questions," Nanny said gently. "And something else." Lila lowered her gaze. "I don't understand what's happening to me." Nanny reached out and placed a hand over Lila's wrist. Her touch was warm, grounding. "Some paths are hidden until the right moment. Not all miracles announce themselves loudly." Lila swallowed. "People already laugh at me. If I start believing in things I can't explain, they will think I've lost my mind." Nanny smiled softly. "The world often mocks what it does not understand. That does not make it untrue." Those words stayed with Lila long after she left. Yet the village seemed to grow louder, crueler. A neighbor made a joke about her empty house within her hearing. Another suggested she spend less time dreaming and more time accepting her fate. Each word pressed down on her chest like a stone. At night, alone in her home, the signs returned. A faint glow traced the edges of her room. Her dreams deepened. She began waking with her hands resting over her stomach, as if protecting something precious. Fear battled hope inside her, each refusing to let go. One evening, as she washed her hands, she noticed the water ripple though she had not moved. The surface shimmered briefly, reflecting light that did not belong to the lamp or the moon. Lila stepped back, breath shallow. She wanted to run. Instead she stood still. Her body felt calm, safe, almost welcomed. Days passed. The village continued as always, unaware of the quiet storm forming within her. Lila walked through her routines, but her senses felt sharper, tuned to something deeper. She felt guided, watched over by a presence that brought comfort instead of fear. Then came the moment she could no longer deny. It was late, the house wrapped in darkness. Lila sat alone, hands folded, breathing slowly. Without warning, warmth bloomed deep within her, stronger than ever before. It was not pain. It was not sickness. It was life. Her breath caught as the warmth spread outward, steady and sure. A soft glow filled the room, brighter this time, pulsing gently in time with her heartbeat. Lila pressed her hand to her stomach, tears spilling freely. She felt it. A presence. Not imagined. Not distant. Real. The glow faded, but the feeling remained, settled deep within her like a promise. Lila sank to the floor, trembling, not with fear but with awe. For the first time in years, the silence around her felt full. She whispered into the darkness, voice shaking but certain. "Whatever you are, I am ready." Outside, the night wind stirred, carrying the scent of something new. The seed of destiny had been planted, and Lila's life, once defined by absence, was quietly, powerfully beginning to change. And though the village still mocked her, unaware of the miracle unfolding, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. Because something extraordinary had chosen her. And it would not remain hidden for long. Lila did not sleep that night. She lay on her mat, staring at the ceiling, her hand resting over her stomach as if it belonged there now. The warmth she had felt earlier still lingered, soft but steady, like embers glowing beneath ash. Each breath she took felt deeper, heavier, filled with meaning she could not yet name. By morning, fear and hope twisted together inside her. She rose before the sun and wrapped herself in a shawl. The village was quiet, but her heart was loud. Every step she took toward Nanny's home felt guided, as if something unseen was pulling her forward. Nanny was already awake. She studied Lila's face, her posture, the way her hands hovered protectively over her body. The elder did not ask questions. She did not need to. "You feel it now," Nanny said calmly. Lila's voice trembled. "Something has changed." Nanny nodded and placed both hands gently on Lila's stomach. The air around them felt warmer, thicker. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Then Nanny's eyes widened, not with fear but with deep recognition. "There are two," she said quietly. "Two lives." Lila's knees weakened. She gripped the edge of the table to stay standing as tears poured freely down her face. Years of silence, pain, and waiting broke open all at once. She laughed and cried together, overwhelmed by joy and disbelief. "Is it real?" she whispered. "After all this time?" Nanny smiled. "Real and rare." The walk home felt unreal. The village paths she had walked her entire life now seemed different, as if the earth beneath her feet knew her secret. She wanted to shout the truth into the sky, but fear kept her quiet. When the signs of pregnancy became impossible to ignore, the village noticed. Whispers spread fast. "She is expecting? How can that be? After all these years?" Some women looked at her with shock. Others with envy. A few with suspicion. The mockery softened but did not disappear. It changed its shape, turning sharp and watchful. Lila felt eyes on her wherever she went. At home her body changed quickly. Her stomach rounded, firm and warm beneath her hands. She felt movement earlier than expected. Gentle flutters at first, like fish brushing past one another. Soon the movements grew stronger, more confident. At night she spoke softly to her belly. She imagined them listening. She imagined them knowing her voice. Her dreams returned, brighter than before. In them she stood beneath wide skies, holding two small figures close. Sometimes she saw light unfolding behind them, thin and delicate. Other times she woke with her heart racing, the image of wings burning behind her eyes. She did not tell anyone, not even Nanny. Fear wrapped itself tightly around her joy. What would happen if the village knew? What would happen if... The night Lila went into labor, the sky changed. Clouds gathered without warning, rolling slowly across the moon as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. The wind moved through the village in low, uneasy waves, rustling leaves and rattling doors. Dogs whined. Birds fell silent. Something was coming. Lila felt it before the pain began. She was sitting on her mat, breathing steadily, when a deep pressure spread through her body, not sharp, not sudden, but powerful. She pressed her hand to her stomach and gasped. This was different from anything she had felt before. This was not fear. This was arrival. By the time Nanny reached her home, Lila was already trembling. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and her breath came in uneven waves. The elder's eyes swept the room, then settled on Lila with calm authority. "It is time," Nanny said. The women who came to help whispered nervously as they prepared the space. Lamps flickered, their flames bending strangely, stretching taller than usual. The air felt warm, almost glowing. Lila cried out as the pain deepened, gripping the mat with all her strength. Between waves of pain she felt something else, movement, strong and deliberate. Not one presence but two. They shifted inside her with purpose, as if they understood what was happening. "I'm here," Lila whispered through clenched teeth. "I'm not afraid." The labor was long. Hours passed like years. Outside, the wind rose and fell, carrying distant echoes that did not belong to the village. Inside the room, light pulsed faintly along the walls, growing brighter with each cry Lila released. Then, suddenly, everything slowed. A soft glow filled the room, gentle but unmistakable. The women froze. Nanny stepped closer, her breath caught in her throat. The glow grew stronger, surrounding Lila like a protective veil. And then, the first cry. It was clear and strong, cutting through the air like a promise. Nanny reached forward and lifted the first child into the light. The baby's skin glowed faintly, warm and alive. Lila reached out instinctively, tears streaming as joy rushed through her like fire. But then the women gasped. Small, delicate wings unfurled from the baby's back, no larger than a bird's, shimmering softly as if woven from moonlight. They fluttered once, twice, then stilled. The room fell into stunned silence. Before anyone could speak, a second cry filled the space, gentler, softer, but just as powerful. The second child emerged moments later, quieter but peaceful. This baby too bore wings, slightly different in shape, thinner and more curved, glowing with a calm, steady light. Two children. Two miracles. Lila stared at them, breath stolen from her lungs. Fear flickered for only a heartbeat, then vanished beneath a wave of fierce, unstoppable love. "They're beautiful," she whispered. Nanny found her voice at last. "One carries the fire of courage," she said softly, looking at the first child. "The other carries the calm of wisdom." The women stepped back, some covering their mouths, others shaking with disbelief. Awe and fear mixed thickly in the air. No one had ever seen anything like this. Lila pulled the twins close to her chest without hesitation. Their wings folded naturally, resting against her arms as if they belonged nowhere else. The glow softened, fading into a warm hum that filled the room with peace. "They are mine," Lila said firmly, her voice steady despite her tears. "And I will protect them." Outside the storm eased. Clouds parted, and the moon shone bright again, bathing the village in silver light. But peace did not last long. Word spread faster than the wind. By morning, whispers pressed against the walls of Lila's home. People gathered at a distance, peering through windows, speaking in hushed, fearful tones. Some crossed themselves. Others stared with open mouths. Nanny stood at the doorway, her presence a quiet warning. "This is sacred," she said to anyone who came too close. "Leave them be." Inside, Lila held her children and studied them closely for the first time. The first twin stirred often, stretching tiny fingers, wings twitching as if eager to move. His eyes were bright, alert. The second slept longer, breathing slow and even, wings folded neatly like a secret kept safe. Lila felt something shift inside her. For years she had been the one pitied, the one whispered about, the one left behind. Now she was a mother to something extraordinary, and with that miracle came danger. Fear crept in quietly. What would the village do? What would the world do? She imagined hands reaching out, not with love but with control. She imagined her children taken, studied, feared, or worse. Her chest tightened as the weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. Nanny returned to her side and placed a steady hand on her back. "You are not weak," the elder said gently. "You were chosen because you are strong." Lila nodded, but doubt still lingered. Strength had never been tested like this. That night, as the village slept uneasily, Lila lay awake with the twins pressed close. The house felt smaller now, filled with a power that could not be hidden forever. The children stirred, their wings brushing softly against her skin. A sudden noise outside made her sit up sharply. Footsteps. Voices. She held her breath. Nanny's voice rose calmly from the doorway, firm and unyielding. The voices outside retreated after a moment, leaving silence behind. Lila exhaled slowly, heart pounding. She looked down at her children again. The bold one opened his eyes and stared up at her, calm and unafraid. The gentle one shifted closer, as if sensing her worry. Tears filled Lila's eyes, but this time they were not from pain. "They don't know yet," she whispered. "They don't know how dangerous this world can be." She kissed each tiny forehead, her resolve hardening. If the world was cruel, she would be stronger. If the world feared her children, she would stand between them and that fear. If the world tried to take them, it would have to go through her first. Outside, the village slept, unaware that everything had already changed. Because the woman once mocked for her silence had given birth to wonder. And from that night forward, nothing, no fear, no whisper, no threat, would ever be stronger than a mother's love. By the third morning after the twins' birth, the village no longer whispered. It buzzed. People gathered in small groups at street corners, near the well, outside the market. Every conversation led back to the same subject. Hands moved as people spoke, shaping wings in the air. Eyes widened, voices dropped, then rose again with excitement or fear. "Did you see them? They say the children glow. This is not natural. Or maybe it is a blessing." Lila felt the change the moment she stepped outside her home. The air was different. Heavy. Charged. Some villagers stared openly now, no longer hiding their curiosity. Others turned away quickly, fear flickering across their faces. A few smiled at her, soft, amazed smiles that carried respect instead of pity. But admiration and fear walked side by side, and fear spoke louder. Inside her home, Lila kept the twins close. She wrapped them carefully, covering their wings whenever she heard footsteps outside. Her heart beat faster with every unfamiliar sound. The bold twin stirred often, his small wings twitching as if they longed for open air. The gentle one remained calm, watching the world with wide, thoughtful eyes. "You must be careful," Nanny warned quietly. "The village is divided." Lila nodded. She already knew. The first incident happened near sunset. Lila had stepped into the courtyard, thinking the walls would shield her. The twins rested against her chest, wrapped tight. She felt safe, until the bold twin shifted suddenly. Before she could react, a tiny wing slipped free. A neighbor's child gasped. The wing caught the light, shimmering softly as it moved. The child screamed. People rushed toward the sound. Lila spun around, clutching the twins tightly, heart pounding. Faces appeared over the fence, wide-eyed, shocked, fearful. "She showed them," someone shouted. "They are real." Did you see the wings? Lila retreated inside, hands shaking, chest tight with fear. Her secret had slipped through her fingers. By nightfall, the village council was already talking. Men and women gathered under the large tree near the center of the village. Some spoke with excitement, others with anger. A few demanded answers. A few demanded action. This could bring danger, one man said. It could bring blessings, another argued. We don't understand it, a woman whispered. And that makes it dangerous. Lila listened from a distance, hidden in the shadows, the twins asleep against her chest. Each word felt like a stone added to her burden. Over the next days the tension grew. Children whispered about flying babies. Some tried to sneak closer to Lila's home, hoping to catch a glimpse. Adults argued openly. Fear twisted into jealousy. Admiration hardened into suspicion. Then came the first flight. It happened by accident. The bold twin slipped from Lila's arms while she was changing him. For a terrifying moment he hovered, not falling, not rising, just floating. His wings spread instinctively, catching the air like they had always known how. Lila screamed and lunged forward, catching him quickly. But it was too late. A neighbor had seen everything. The news spread like fire. They can fly. They are not human. What else can they do? That night Lila did not sleep. She sat awake, rocking the twins, whispering soothing words even as fear crawled through her veins. She realized then that hiding was no longer enough. She had to teach them. Over the following weeks, Lila learned to watch them closely. The twins reacted to her emotions. When she was calm, their wings stayed still. When she panicked, they stirred, light flickering faintly around them. So she learned to breathe, to steady herself, to become their anchor. Nanny helped where she could, teaching Lila grounding rituals and quiet focus. They will learn from you, the elder said. Your fear will be theirs. Your strength will be theirs too. But not everyone was willing to learn. A man from a nearby town arrived one afternoon, claiming he had heard stories. He spoke of opportunities, of protection, of studying the children to understand their gift. His smile was too sharp, his eyes too eager. Lila refused him. That refusal made her enemies. Soon after, strangers began to appear near her home. Some claimed curiosity. Others pretended kindness. A few carried fear in their eyes and hunger in their voices. One evening, a stone struck the wall of her house. Then another. A voice shouted from the dark, "Take them away." Lila pressed herself against the door, heart racing, shielding the twins with her body. Tears streamed silently down her face, not from weakness but from rage. "I will not give them up," she whispered fiercely. Nanny stood beside her, staff in hand, unyielding. "Fear always strikes first," the elder said calmly. "But it does not win by itself." The village was no longer united. Some people began bringing food quietly to Lila's door. Others left small gifts, tokens of respect and apology. Mothers watched the twins from afar with wonder in their eyes, seeing innocence where others saw danger. But the divide only deepened. Lila's isolation grew heavier, yet her resolve hardened. Every challenge carved strength into her bones. Every threat sharpened her love into something fierce and unbreakable. She looked at her children, one bold, one gentle, and understood something important. They were not the problem. Fear was. And fear, if left to grow, would soon become something far more dangerous. As night settled over the village once more, Lila stood at her doorway, staring out at a world that no longer knew what to do with her. The woman once mocked for being childless had become something else entirely. A protector. A challenge. A force the village could not ignore. And the storm of conflict had only just begun. The knock came before dawn. It was not loud, but it was firm, 3 slow strikes against the wooden door. Lila woke instantly, heart racing. The twins stirred against her chest, sensing the sudden tension. Outside, the village lay quiet, wrapped in a thin layer of morning fog. Lila did not move. Another knock followed. Her breath grew shallow. She glanced toward the window where shadows stretched unnaturally long. Fear rose in her throat, sharp and bitter. She had known this moment would come. Fear never stays quiet forever. Nanny appeared from the other room, her eyes already alert. She placed a calming hand on Lila's shoulder. "Stay steady," she whispered. The door creaked open. 2 men stood outside, flanked by a third wearing a clean jacket and a forced smile. He spoke carefully, choosing his words as one might approach a wild animal. "We are here for the children." The sentence landed like a blade. Lila's arms tightened instinctively around the twins. "They are mine," she said, her voice low but unwavering. The man smiled thinly. They are unusual. The council believes they must be taken somewhere safe. Somewhere they can be observed. Observed, Lila repeated, her blood running cold. Like objects. They could be a danger, one of the men muttered. To themselves. To others. The twins began to glow faintly, sensing the shift. The bold twins' wings twitched beneath the cloth. The gentle one pressed closer to Lila's heart. Nanny stepped forward, her staff striking the ground once. You have no right. The man's smile faded. We do not ask permission. Before Lila could react, hands reached forward. Time seemed to break apart. Lila turned and ran. She burst through the back of the house, barefoot on cold earth, clutching the twins as shouts rose behind her. Her lungs burned as she pushed forward, branches tearing at her skin, fear driving her legs faster than they had ever moved. The twins cried out. The glow around them brightened. Suddenly the air shifted. The bold twins' wings spread wide, no longer tiny or uncertain. They beat hard, sending a rush of wind through the trees. Lila felt her feet lift from the ground. She screamed. But the air held her. For a brief, terrifying moment she was flying, held aloft by something she did not understand. Trees passed beneath her, the ground dropping away as fear and wonder collided inside her chest. Then they fell. Not hard but sudden. Lila rolled across the grass, shielding the twins with her body. Pain shot through her shoulder, but she did not cry out. She forced herself up, eyes wild, heart pounding. Voices echoed behind her. They went this way. She ran again. The chase led her toward the old hills beyond the village, land no one visited anymore. The fog thickened, swallowing sound in sight. Lila's legs trembled, but she did not slow. She would not lose them. At the edge of a ravine she stopped. There was nowhere else to go. Footsteps approached. Lila turned, standing tall despite her shaking limbs. The twins glowed brighter now, their wings fully visible, spread protectively. Wind circled them, lifting dust and leaves into the air. You cannot take them, Lila shouted, her voice breaking. They are children. They are innocent. The men hesitated. Fear flickered in their eyes. The bold twin cried out, wings beating hard. The gentle twin lifted his head, eyes calm, focused. The air around them shimmered, bending light and sound. For a moment no one moved. Then the ground beneath the men shifted, just enough to make them stumble back. They ran. Lila collapsed to her knees, sobbing, clutching the twins tightly as the glow slowly faded. Her entire body shook, drained by fear and adrenaline. Nanny appeared beside her moments later, breathless but calm. You did what you had to, she said softly. But they will come again, Lila whispered. Won't they? Yes, Nanny replied. And next time they will not hesitate. The realization settled heavily over Lila like a storm cloud. She could not run forever. That night, hidden deep in the hills, Lila held her children close and made a choice. Fear had ruled her life long enough. Silence had protected her once, but no longer. She would no longer hide. If the world wanted to see her children as monsters, she would show them their humanity. If the world wanted to take them, it would have to face her truth. As the twins slept, their wings folded peacefully against their small backs, Lila stared into the dark, eyes burning with resolve. A mother's love had already defied nature. Now it would defy fear itself. Morning came slowly to the village as if the sun itself hesitated. News of the night's events had already spread. People spoke in low voices, replaying the fear, the glow, the wind that rose without warning. Some said they had heard wings beating against the dark. Others said the earth had trembled. No one could agree on what had happened, only that something powerful had stood its ground. Lila returned at dawn. She walked openly this time, the twins wrapped against her chest, their wings hidden but unmistakably present. Nanny walked beside her, staff steady, eyes forward. Every step felt heavy, but Lila's back was straight. She would not shrink anymore. Villagers gathered as she approached. Some stepped back. Others stared. A few bowed their heads in respect without fully understanding why. The bold twin stirred, eyes bright and curious. The gentle one remained calm, watching faces with quiet focus. Lila felt their weight, their warmth, their trust. It steadied her. A man stepped forward from the crowd, the same one who had come to take her children. His face looked different now. Tired. Uneasy. We feared what we did not understand, he said, voice tight. The night showed us that fear has limits. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lila took a breath. Her voice shook at first, then found its strength. They are children, she said. They feel hunger. They feel fear. They feel love. If you see monsters, that fear lives in you, not in them. Silence followed. Then a woman pushed through the crowd. She was holding her own child's hand. Her eyes were wet. "I watched them," she said softly. "I saw how you shielded them with your body. No monster has a mother's heart." Something shifted. Not all at once. Not completely. But enough. Over the days that followed, the village changed in small, careful ways. People no longer threw stones. No one shouted in the dark. Instead they watched. They waited. They learned. One afternoon, Lila sat beneath the old tree where the council once argued. This time she was not alone. Children gathered nearby, pretending not to stare. Mothers stood at a distance, whispering not with fear but with wonder. The bold twin wriggled free from the cloth, wings slipping into the sunlight. Gasps filled the air. Lila's heart raced, but she did not pull him back. "Slowly," she whispered, breathing deeply. The twin lifted his arms. His wings stretched wide, catching the breeze. He rose only a little, just enough for his feet to leave the ground. He laughed, a clear, joyful sound that echoed under the tree. The gentle twin followed, floating inches above the earth, calm and steady, eyes focused on his mother. No one screamed. No one ran. A child clapped. Then another. Laughter followed, nervous at first, then real. Tears filled Lila's eyes. In that moment she felt the years of pain loosen their grip. The whispers. The mockery. The nights spent crying alone. They did not vanish, but they no longer defined her. People began to speak to her differently. They asked questions instead of making demands. They brought food without pity. They listened when she spoke. Some apologized. One woman, who had once mocked her openly, stood before Lila with her head lowered. "I was cruel," she said quietly. "I thought silence meant emptiness. I was wrong." Lila nodded. Forgiveness did not come easily, but it came. She watched her children grow, not just in strength but in kindness. The bold one learned to fly with care, helping younger children reach fallen kites or fruit stuck high in trees. The gentle one learned control, guiding the wind softly, calming storms before they could rise. They did not hide who they were. They did not boast. They simply lived. And in doing so they changed everything. The village began to tell new stories. Stories not of fear but of wonder. Children grew up believing that difference did not mean danger. That miracles could wear familiar faces. Lila often stood at the edge of the village now, watching the twins glide beneath the open sky. Her heart felt full in a way she had once believed impossible. She was no longer the woman defined by what she lacked. She was the woman who endured. The woman who protected. The woman who taught a village how to see again. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Nanny stood beside her. "Pain has a way of shaping purpose," the elder said softly. "You were prepared for this long before you knew it." Lila smiled, eyes following her children as they landed gently nearby, wings folding easily at their backs. "Yes," she said. "I was." As night settled and stars appeared, the village lights glowed warmly. Lila gathered her children close, their laughter filling the air. The silence that once weighed her down had transformed into something else. And in that peace the world had learned to change, not because it was forced to but because love had shown it how. Years passed, gentle as drifting clouds. The village no longer felt like a place divided between fear and faith. It had become something softer, wiser. Change did not come in a single moment but in quiet habits. How people spoke, how children played, how stories were told at night around small fires. At the center of those stories was Lila. Not as a miracle herself but as a mother. The twins grew quickly, their wings stretching wider with each passing season. When they were young, their flight was playful and close to the ground. As they grew older, it became graceful and controlled, like a dance with the wind. They never flew to impress. They flew because it felt natural, because the sky welcomed them. Children of the village followed them everywhere. They laughed together, learned together, fell and rose together. To the younger ones, wings were no longer something strange. They were simply part of who the twins were, no more frightening than strong legs or quick hands. Lila watched them often from the doorway of her home, a warm smile on her face. She still remembered the nights of silence, the years of longing, the pain of being unseen. Those memories did not vanish, but they no longer hurt. They reminded her how far she had come. Sometimes, women came to sit with her in the evenings. They asked about motherhood, about fear, about patience, about strength. Lila never spoke of miracles first. She spoke of love, of listening, of standing firm even when your voice shakes. She spoke of how silence can break a person, or prepare them. The twins listened too. The bold one grew into a leader not through command but through courage. He helped others face what scared them, reminding them that falling was not failure. The gentle one grew into a guide, calming disputes, sensing emotions before words were spoken, easing pain with presence alone. Together they balanced each other. Together they carried something greater than wings. They carried understanding. Visitors sometimes came from distant places, drawn by stories whispered on the wind. Some arrived with curiosity, others with hope, a few with doubt. Lila met them all with the same calm gaze. She never offered the twins as proof. She never defended their existence. Those who stayed long enough saw the truth for themselves, in laughter shared, in kindness given freely, in lives changed not by power but by compassion. One evening, long after the sun had set, Lila sat beneath the stars with her children beside her. The sky stretched endlessly above them, deep and alive. "Did it hurt?" the bold one asked softly. "When people treated you badly?" Lila considered the question. She looked at the stars, then at the faces she loved more than life itself. "Yes," she answered honestly. "But pain taught me how to protect you, and how to forgive." The gentle one rested his head against her shoulder. "Would you choose it again?" Lila did not hesitate. Yes. Because every tear had led her here. Every lonely night had shaped her strength. Every whisper of doubt had been answered by truth. The village slept peacefully as wings cut quietly through the night sky above. The twins flew high, then returned, landing gently beside their mother. Lila closed her eyes. For the first time in her life she felt complete, not because the world had accepted her but because she had accepted herself long ago. In the years to come, the story would change again. Some would tell it as legend, some as miracle, some as truth, but the heart of it would remain the same. A woman once mocked for her silence gave birth to wonder. A village once ruled by fear learned how to see. And children born different taught the world that difference is not danger, it is possibility. As dawn approached, the first light touched the wings folded gently at Lila's side. She smiled. The legacy was never about wings. It was about love that endured, hope that waited, and a silence that hid a miracle until the world was ready to listen.